My name is Dan Powell. I am a Somerset County resident. For 24 of 36 years of my life, I have lived in Somerset County. I reside north of Princess Anne with my lovely wife, Christine. I'm a 1995 graduate of Salisbury University in its ROTC program. I was a distinguished military graduate. I'm also a December 2000 graduate of University of Baltimore School of Law. In my professional career, I have served in the U.S. Army, both as an active duty officer and also in the Maryland National Guard here in Crisfield. 3 years active duty, 2 years in the National Guard. I have 2 ARCOMs, Army Commendation Medals, 1 Army Achievement Medal, 1 United Nations Medal for my service in the Republic of Haiti. My time in the Army, I was in charge of 120 men and $68 million of equipment. I also served as your county administrator for 2 years, where I was in charge of 200 plus employees and a $40+ million budget. For 9 years, or 9+ years as a lawyer, I have been a prosecutor for 6 years. I currently am an assistant state's attorney in Dorchester County, and I previously served Baltimore County and Somerset County as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, and I'm Christy Hickman, and I proudly serve as the state's attorney for Somerset County. And I want to thank you for asking me here tonight to give me the opportunity to share with you why I'm running for re-election and why I'm asking for your support. I'm a career prosecutor. I've dedicated my legal career to one thing, and that's prosecuting crime in Somerset County. I graduated from William & Mary Law School in 1994, and I began a clerkship with Judge Long here in the Somerset County Circuit Court. In January of 1996, I was hired as an assistant state's attorney, and I've been prosecuting cases in Somerset County ever since. During my 15 years in the state's attorney's office, I've successfully prosecuted thousands of cases, everything from traffic offenses to drug crimes to robberies, burglaries, and murder cases. I've tried cases in every court in Somerset County. I've been a strong advocate for victims and victims' rights. I've taken a tough stance against drug dealers and gangs in our community, and I've been committed to protecting our children and keeping them safe. I've been committed to my job as state's attorney, and I've been an effective state's attorney, and I vow to continue to fight for the victims of crime and fight to keep Somerset County safe, and that's why I'm asking for your vote.
Do you believe in the death penalty? And under what circumstances should it be requested? Do you believe in the death penalty? And under what circumstances should it be requested?
I do believe in the death penalty. I think that the death penalty is an important tool for prosecutors to have on the books so that we can use that for our most heinous crimes. I think it's an important tool to protect our police officers, and it's a very important tool to protect our correctional officers. We have Eastern Correctional Institute in this county, and there are people serving life without parole at that institute. And if we don't have the death penalty as a tool, as a prosecutor, there's nothing to prevent those inmates who are serving NECI from killing those guards, because they have no other penalty that they will face. They're already serving life without parole. So there's nothing else that they could face. So I think it's a very important tool. Having said that, as state's attorney, I haven't ever sought the death penalty in the cases that I have, but I have fought to keep the death penalty on the records. I've testified in Annapolis for the past 2 years to keep the death penalty on the books, and then this year to decrease some of the restrictions that they have on what's required in order to implement the death penalty. But again, I'm in favor of the death penalty. I think it should be reserved for only our most heinous crimes, but it is an important tool and one that's needed.
I do believe in the death penalty. Right now in Maryland, the law is so narrowly constructed in that it requires video and or DNA evidence that there is no doubt that the person who did the crime is guilty. I mean, if you have DNA and video evidence, you're not innocently convicting someone like Kirk Bloodsworth. I was taught in Baltimore County by one of the longest serving state's attorneys in the state's history, Sandra O'Connor. Her and Logan Whittison served both 30 years and were good friends. Her policy was that if a person qualifies for the death penalty, that she would seek the death penalty unless the victim's family did not want you to do so. If they felt that it was against their moral convictions, then she did not do that. And by doing that, you're doing things fairly and impartially across the board, absent of race, color, and creed. It doesn't matter whether you're black, white, red, green. If you qualify for the death penalty and you seek the death penalty because the law allows you to, the law demands you to, then that is impartial, that is fair, and it is justice. And I believe that that is the best way to handle the death penalty. A person may not morally be for it, but as state's attorney, I cannot ignore the laws of the state of Maryland I am sworn to uphold.
Sometimes in the pursuit of winning at all costs, one can lose sight of fair play. What steps will your office take to ensure that justice and respect at all costs is served? Ms. Powell.
I think the key to that is to understand the state's attorney's role. The state's attorney's role is not to be always here on the left with police officers, and it's not always to be here on the right with the public and ultimately the defense bar. The job of the state's attorney is to be here in the middle. And ultimately, if your door is always open and you're accessible to the public and you're accessible to police officers, then you have the best position and the best ability to be fair and impartial and to do justice. I have two examples that I can think of in my career. One is the prosecution of the people that assaulted Aubrey Fletcher at ECI. I took them to task. They received the maximum penalty they could get. They're still sitting in ECI for almost killing a correctional officer in this county, a resident in this county. Likewise, on the other end, the other day I had a case in circuit court. I researched the case. The victim of the case had made false allegations several times against different individuals. After researching the case, talking to police officers, and interviewing the person who made the complaint, I did not feel she was telling the truth, and I ultimately dismissed the case. So you have to be fair, you have to be impartial, and you have to be in the middle. That's the balance in the scales of justice.
Thank you. I believe that the role of state's attorney is to prosecute people who commit crime in Somerset County. And in that role, I believe that it's my job. I've earned the reputation in that role as being a very tough prosecutor. But I've also earned the reputation for being a fair prosecutor and for being an honest prosecutor. And I would never, as the state's attorney for Somerset County, prosecute anyone who I did not feel I had the evidence and did not feel that I had what it took and what was needed to convict that person. I've never done that, and I would never do that. I think that it's very important that the public respect the criminal justice system, and in order to have the public's respect, we all have to be professional in the system, whether we're the prosecution, the defense, the judge, and anyone working in that role. And I think in Somerset County, the majority of the people who work in the court system, who work in law enforcement, and all of the people who work in my office are very respectful of the public and very respectful of our role as the chief law enforcement officer in this county. And I have always upheld that role, and I've always been very fair and honest and never prosecuted anyone who I did not believe that I had evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that they were guilty. And I think that's why I have a high conviction rate, because I fight hard, but I do fight fair.
Thank you. Last question. You can also add your closing statement. You get the privilege. You got 2 minutes. Since you're the last, you got a privilege. What, as a prosecutor, what intervention programs would you propose in order to keep our youth out of the judicial system?
Well, as state's attorney, I've always been very proactive. I think it's a very, that's not only important for me to prosecute crime, but also to work with the community to prevent crime. And I do believe that there's a trend that we have more youth committing crime in this county. And one of the things that I would like to do to prevent that is to help to work with the local law enforcement agencies and to reach out to our youth and to target those youth between the ages of 13 and 16, that at-risk age, and implement an internship type program where they would be involved, participate in a structured program where they could shadow state's attorneys and law enforcement officers and other people involved in the court system. And there would also be a prevention part of that program where they would be educated about the hazards of drug use and gun violence and gangs. And I think that we would work with the schools so that they would be encouraged to participate in this program because they could get their community service credits that are required in high school to do that. And I think that this would be an effective program because that age group, 13 to 16, it's an at-risk age group. And I think if they had a positive contact with law enforcement and they had positive role models so that they could stay focused on school and stay focused on community and community involvement, it would keep the youth out of trouble.
I think just coupling on that, in the past, I have spoken through the DARE program. This county has a great DARE program. I would continue on with that. I think people, especially the youth in this county, need to see someone like myself who grew up in this county come out, reach out to them, say, look, I grew up here, I'm your state's attorney, and offer myself as a role model to the youth that where I came from humble, hardworking beginnings. My mom was a teacher, my dad was a farmer, very hardworking people, and if I could come from those humble beginnings and be your state's attorney, then you as a youth could do the same thing also. As I watched Logan Whittison do that, that's how I have modeled my career and want to do that. Also, I prosecute in not only circuit court and handle serious felony cases, but I also do juvenile court as well. I think the state's attorney has to be hands-on, proactive, has his hands on all courts. And it really starts in juvenile court. A lot of prosecutors don't think that juvenile court is important. I do. If you don't handle juvenile court and have your hands on the youth early, then they go into the adult system, and it's a spiral out of control. I think the final thing that I would like to do is to see a first offender program for misdemeanor crime. This institution puts out many good people every year that have 4-year degrees, but unfortunately they've had a disorderly conduct, an alcohol violation, a marijuana possession, something that is of a minor nature, that if we were able to get them into the community and doing community service with many of the community organizations that I'm a member of and that you are members of, that it would benefit the community as well.
You got 10 seconds to ask me.
Well, I've shown my commitment. I just ask that you remember that I'm experienced, I'm effective, I'm very committed, I'm very proactive, and I've been a strong voice for victims and victims' rights. My son John and I raise our family here, so I have a vested interest in keeping Somerset County a safe place to live, work, raise a family, and retire. And I'm asking for your support, and I vow to continue to fight for Somerset County.
That was more like 30 seconds, so hopefully I get that. I want to thank the NAACP this evening, and I want to thank my wife, Christine, for going through this journey with me. 23 years ago, I was a victim of crime in this county. It's what drove me to be a lawyer, and especially my first love as a prosecutor. Watching Logan Whittison and Edmund Whittison, the way they handled my case, has drove me to want to be that type of state's attorney for Somerset County. And in 14 days, with your help, I will fulfill that dream. Thank you.